Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am the Beardly Gentleman from Central Ontario, Canada, and after a long wait, I'm finally here to come at you with my whiskey review of Crown Royal's Northern Harvest Rye. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me. So, Crown Royal. Let's get right into our review. So, the first thing that I should say right off the bat, and I had mentioned this before, and I will troll myself before anyone else can, I called Crown Royal a Canadian company. Now, there is a caveat to that. Crown Royal is a Canadian-operated company. They have a distillery on the windy shores of Lake Winnipeg in a place called Gimli, Manitoba. They employ a lot of Canadian employees. It's all distilled here, but I found out through my own research just recently that they are a feather in the cap of a big multinational spirits corporation called Diageo. So they are Canadian operated, but they are not Canadian owned. I just wanted to get that out there so no one can correct me. So, Crown Royal. Presentation. First thing to look at. So it is in the typical Crown Royal bottle, very regal, very nice looking. It almost looks like a whiskey decanter that you might go out to the store and buy to put other spirits in. The strength, it is bottled at 45% alcohol. Now, for most Canadian whiskeys, especially Canadian blended whiskeys, that is quite high. Most of them are blended, or are bottled, rather, at the regular 40%. For Canadian whiskey, that's just kind of the standard. It's not a law, but it's just the general rule of thumb. People who are whiskey aficionados, why does that word give me such a hard time? People who are whiskey aficionados will often say that the higher the alcohol content, the more flavor that you get in the actual whiskey. As the alcohol, just like in perfume, it pulls out the oils in whatever it is that it's sitting in and brings a lot more of the flavor with it. So 45% bottling alcohol volume, it means it should have a little bit more flavor than maybe a 40%. Maybe. We'll see. The price point is pretty important. Price point is, I think this cost me about 32 Canadian dollars, so probably even a little cheaper for our friends down to the States. Another note on that, I know that this is very hard to find right now, so if you are in the States, you may not even get any because we can't get it on the shelves here. And I have heard through a friend of mine that because of the lack of domestic stock, they are actually pulling back a bit of the bottles that were earmarked for export, and they're going to be sold here at Christmas instead of across the border. So hopefully you can find it. I know it's pretty hard even for me around here in Ontario. Maybe if you're in Manitoba, it's easier to find. I'm not sure, but let's crack it open and see what it's like when you can actually get your hands on one. Pour ourselves out. Ooh, smells good. Pour ourselves out a respectable amount, not too much. Warm myself up when I'm out here in my quite cold, unheated sunroom. So you can really smell it. The aroma, the nose on this particular whiskey is gorgeous. You can smell it as soon as you crack the bottle. And another good note that I'd like to make, if you're still watching right now, I hope you are, and I appreciate that you are, and I think that this would be a good point for anyone who is new to whiskey like myself. But as I am reviewing this whiskey, I'm not going to be looking for prancing unicorns or anything magical. I'm just going to give you my opinion, what I perceived in the actual blend. And if there was any particular notes that the blender made about what they say you should taste, I'll make a note on it and I'll probably explain it to you. But my first initial thoughts, and I'll be very clear on this, will be my experiences and what I perceive with my regular normal nose and my regular palate. I'm a completely ordinary normal dude, just like you. I just have a fondness of facial hair. So this should be good for, I think, the general populace of my viewership. It's really, really good. So right off the bat on the nose, I get vanilla, strong vanilla, and something almost like toffee, almost toasty like toffee. Once you get past that, there is a spice. There's a definite spice, something like baking spice. It reminds me of Christmas, sort of the baking spices you'd use associated with Christmas. And then there is a definite kind of peppery note almost at the end, I find. Let's give this a taste. First mouthful, I don't really try too hard to taste it. I just kind of let it coat the inside of my mouth, enjoy the flavor, sit on it, and then go again. It's almost like a cleansing of your palate. The first little bit that you get really kind of cleans your mouth out, gets it ready to receive those delicious flavors. And then I always find the second one is where you really start to taste it. Vanilla. Really strong vanilla. Subtle sweetness on the tip of the tongue. I don't find it to be as sweet as other Crown Royal blends. Crown Royal being pretty popular out there, especially as a mixed drink. It is a beautifully smooth blended whiskey. I do find as I'm getting older, though, I'm losing my sweet tooth, and the original blend is a little sweet for me. I find this one, there still is a sweetness to it, but it's a lot more subtle than you'd find in sort of their original deluxe blend, I believe they call it. Once you get past the vanilla and the sweetness on the front of the tongue, middle of the tongue, I'm getting something like butter toffee, and then almost butterscotch. Again, not crazy sweet, but definite butterscotch on the middle of the tongue. When it moves back to the back of the palate and sort of on the back of the tongue, I'm also getting what I thought made me crazy, hints of citrus. And it's not like orange juice. It's like almost like candied orange rind. And when I was having a look at the distiller's notes, they had talked about hints of marmalade, which I guess would make sense with the orange rind, and that's actually what I was picking up. It did taste like hints of orange rind on the back of the palate. Now myself, I'm a novice, but I am an enjoyer, a person who appreciates whiskey, and I do like to get an outside opinion, so I always tend to ask my wife, who says that all whiskey just tastes like fiery burning. And I asked her to smell it and taste it and see what she thought. When she smelled it, her nose, she said that she gets a distinct feeling of late summer grass. And I have there in brackets beside wife. So late summer grass, I think what that would mean is the area of Ontario that we grew up in, there is a lot of native rye grass that just grows in the ditches along the road. So I think she's actually picking up the notes of the grain, which I agree with her, because once you get past all the initial ones, there is the mouthfeel that you're left with. The taste would be something kind of like, to me, a dusky oak, like a smooth aged oak, and also a little bit of cereal, a little bit of that grain note, which I picked up, and it really helped that I had that Dillon's The White Rye, where you can really get a taste of what the unmolested sort of grain note, unaged, the young grain note tastes like. So a definite graininess, which this is 90% rye, so it should rightly be pretty grainy. Is there anything that I missed? No, pretty much covered everything. Just making sure to have a look at my tasting notes. I have had this multiple times. I'm probably about a third of the way through the bottle. I only taste or drink about that much. Try to drink responsibly. I always do. All right. Let's talk about the finish. Again, beautiful mouthfeel. And I don't just mean the taste. There's a taste that stays with you for a bit of a while. Not the way that like a really flavorful scotch would. But it stays with you for a good bit of a while. But also just the way that it coats the inside of the mouth. And I think that has a lot to do with this here. See if you can see that. Yeah, you can a little bit. You see those distortions, those runners that come down the side of the glass? In the whiskey world, through my research, I've found that they typically call that legs. Now, I think that has a lot to do with the slightly higher alcohol bottling content, and that is the oils, sort of the essential oils that were in the rye that was used to distill it. The higher alcohol content has pulled out more of them. So that's supposed to be a sign of a quality whiskey when it has enough of the oil spirits in it that you can see it running down the side of the glass. Beautiful. I like it a lot. Delicious, warm. My final thoughts on this as I was sitting there contemplating in the cold in my sunroom is homogeneous and married. This is a blended whiskey, and I have to admit, in my humble opinion, Crown Royal has done a beautiful job on this. It's very, very well blended. The whole thing works together, and I even have down here that I say it's complex yet thematic. It's not complex in the way that a single malt might be, and you get all kinds of these really distinct, interesting characters in it. It's complex in the fact that there's a lot going on, but it's like a symphony that just beautifully rolls one into the other. You start off with the vanilla, which rolls into the the sort of the butter toffee, the butterscotch, which then rolls into a bit of a citrus flavor and then ends off with that beautiful sort of oakiness. I just really like it. It seems to be very good. I would suggest this as a great place to start if you want to start tasting whiskeys. Again, it's basically $30 a bottle. So if you're looking for something incredibly complex and way out there, you're probably going to want to spend a bit more money. But for myself, as I've mentioned in other videos, I enjoy drinking the middle shelf, the ones that are a little more economically priced for myself right now. This is a great, great value whiskey. And it's just great to drink. It's really smooth. It has what I feel a lot of flavors, even though some of them are a lot more almost dessert type. And I have down here, it reminds me of something like a dark Christmas cake because of the hints of vanilla and the sort of the butter note, the butter toffee and the spice. I think this would be a great, great gift for the holidays. If you have anyone out there who really likes blended whiskeys or enjoys Canadian whiskeys, I think this is a perfect example of such a creature, and I think it's really, really good. Again, Jim Murray mentioned that this is one of his, Jim Murray being an English whiskey aficionado. Why is that word so hard for me to say? Whiskey aficionado. He voted it as one of his top whiskeys in the entire world for 2016, and that goes into his whiskey Bible. Lots of sources online. You can look it up. Jim Murray Whiskey Bible 2016. Google it. Google's the thing. Yeah, so all of his comments aside and all of the hype it's gotten, I think that it's really good. It has my seal of approval. Tastes great. Great Canadian whiskey from a Canadian-operated distiller. Really hard to find right now. So if you can find any on the shelf, I say get it. I hope you've enjoyed. I have. I've had fun, and I will be coming back at you with hopefully a lot more of these. I've asked for a couple different more value Canadian whiskey blends over the holidays, so hopefully I get more, and if I do, I will come at you as quickly as I can, given time to appreciate them, of course, and give a few more of these. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, please like the video to let me know that you like it, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. I have been the Beardly Gentleman. I hope you have been entertained. Cheers.